Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello, welcome to the first broadcast of Living Wise with MS. I'm your host, Kim Freiling-Reesar. First, I'd like to give special thanks to MS&Me Radio, along with the entire Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network, for this amazing opportunity. I have to say that this is such an incredible initiative, bringing together so many different MS voices to spread support and awareness to the multiple sclerosis community. I'd like to start off telling you a little bit more about myself and how I arrived where I am today. As I said previously, my name is Kim, and I would say that my MS story is probably extremely similar to many of your stories. In fact, it's amazing to me that I've talked to many people personally or through social media, and for as variable and as different as the disease is, there are so many similarities and so many similar shared experiences. I was diagnosed with MS in 2003, shortly after I turned 27 years old. So if you're good with math, unlike me, you could probably figure out that I'm currently 41 years old, and I've been living with MS for 14 years now. I live in Rhode Island with my husband, 2 sons, and my 2 golden retrievers. I love staying active, running, sailing, you name it, hiking. I'm trying to be out and about as much as possible. Like many of you, I'm sure if you saw me, you would have no idea that I lived with multiple sclerosis each and every day. I'm open about MS, and I'm not scared to let people know that I'm living with MS. And in fact, I see living openly with MS as one of the many ways that I can raise awareness about the disease. Many people don't know anything about MS, or their knowledge is very limited. And I like to open people's minds and eyes about the disease and to hopefully make people understand what the MS patient, or I should not say patient, the person living with MS is experiencing. Which is very hard to do, as we all know. It's very hard for them to understand what we go through. But in my experiences, I have to say that it appears that everyone seems to be dealing with something, whether it be a chronic illness or something else. There's something that everyone, unfortunately, is dealing with in this life. And it's all very relatable. It's all very human experience. And I think once you open up, you discover more and more about that. It's a very supportive and comforting feeling knowing that you're not alone when you're sharing your story, which is why this is such a great opportunity to share my story with some of you. And I have to say, I have to admit that I absolutely do love shocking people that I have MS because, like I said, that's my way of raising awareness and opening people's eyes. You know, what does MS look like? I was very fortunate to be diagnosed with MS right away. I've heard stories where people can go years and years without an official diagnosis, and my heart just goes out to those people. I can't even imagine not knowing exactly what you're dealing with. I think knowing what you're up against is the best way to start fighting it. I mean, how can you fight something if you don't know what you're fighting? I believe strongly in living the best possible life you can with MS. MS should not hold us back. We should be empowered by this diagnosis, and we've been given kind of a glimpse of what can be, and so we should take advantage of everything that we can do. That life is so precious, and we should take advantage of that. And I know it has taken me such a long time to get to this point. It took years after I was diagnosed, and I realized, and this is what I'm going to talk to you about today, is that I had to go through all the stages of grief after I was diagnosed. Um, I was an athlete my whole life. I That was part of my identity, and in 2003, when I suddenly didn't have use of the left side of my body, it was earth shattering to me, and I thought my whole world, my whole life was over. A family member around that time gave me a book about grief, and I absolutely thought she was crazy. Why did I need a book about grief? I just was diagnosed with a life-altering disease, and this person gives me a book about grief, which I didn't see how one related to the other. But now years have gone by, and I can look back and I can say, wow, I really did go through all the stages of grief, and I did have to experience them because I had to let go of that previous life so I could move forward with this new one. And what did that mean? I had to go through the whole process of what did it mean to live with MS. I had very limited knowledge of MS. Growing up, I knew only of one other person with MS, and they had to use an assistive device to walk. Um, so I didn't know. I didn't know if that meant my life was going to be in a wheelchair. I didn't know if my days of being active and competitive were over. So as I was saying, I realized that I needed to go through every one of these stages of grief. And if you're familiar with them, they're denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then finally acceptance. So when I was first diagnosed, it was just this mass of emotional cobwebs that I was trying to fight my way through. That's why my heart always goes out to when I hear about a newly diagnosed person. I'm always there with my phone number, my email, whatever they need. I want them to see me and say, wow, she's been diagnosed with it and she's doing so well, because I know how overwhelming it can be at that time. And I want them to have assurance that my life is not over. But I'm digressing here a little bit, going back to the stages of grief. So, my first initial reaction when I heard was the denial phase. And it fascinates me. I can't even believe what an extreme state of denial I was in after I was diagnosed. I mean, it was almost comical. So after spending 5 days in the hospital, I had 2 MRIs, a lumbar puncture, and a definitive diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. I mean, I had lost partial use of the left side of my body. Um, they were testing for stroke, brain tumor, brain cancer, and the quote unquote good news was that I had MS. So of course, denial. How could I, a former Division I athlete in the prime of my life, I just turned 27, just moved to Boston, I was starting a new life. How could I have this debilitating disease? There was no way. I was convinced there was no way. They got this wrong. I have Lyme disease. They're gonna just give me something and I will get over this. I pulled a muscle. I pinched a nerve. This is just ridiculous. So after my 5 days in the hospital, they referred me to the MS clinic, which I can't be any more thankful for. But when I went to my first appointment at the MS clinic, that's exactly what I told the neurologist. I said, gee, I thought you were going to tell me that this was all a big mistake and that I have Lyme disease. Not that Lyme's disease would be any better, but in my mind at the time it was. And of course, my neurologist at the time promptly gave me the business card for the resident, social worker and the clinical psychologist. because I was in such a state of denial. And I guess as the denial started to wane and when reality kind of started to set in, I had the visiting nurse come to my house and show me how to give my injectables. This was part of my new life. Um, as that started to set in, I started to realize, wow, okay, I do have this chronic illness. I do have this chronic disease. I got angry. I got mad. And I was, excuse my French, I was pissed off. And I was lashing out to anyone closest to me. I was angry that they had their health. I was mad that mine was perceivably taken from me. And I just felt like it wasn't fair. I was so frustrated. And another thing that I struggled with that is that I couldn't seem to find the support I needed. To me, no one understood. And I found the newly support groups to be extremely depressing. I couldn't find the support I needed. I'd like to think that I wasn't in this anger phase for long and that I snapped out of it after having it pointed out to me by family and friends that I was just being downright nasty to everyone. I was really angry at the world because I felt like, well, I felt out of control. I'm sure many of you can relate to this. I felt out of control that my life was being taken over by this, and I thought it was just unfair. Why did I deserve this? Why did I get diagnosed with this? It just was first beyond comprehension and just made me angry. And then the next stage, I guess, after anger would be bargaining. And I don't think I necessarily bargained, but I would say I was beating myself up and playing the second guessing game. Did I do this to myself? Was there something that I did as a child that may have caused this? I even joked that I watch too much TV, to eat too many Twinkies as a kid? What could I have done differently to prevent this from happening? I was racking my brain trying to think of things that I may have done to bring this on. I was convinced that MS was something that I did to myself, and maybe, like I said before, I could have prevented it, and which is just not true. It's just it is what it is in a way. But then after going through all this, and as I said, this was all, happening concurrently at the same time. It was happening over periods of years. Then I hit, basically the lowest point, I would say, in my life ever. And in fact, I can't even believe that it was possible that I even talk about it, even thinking back about it. I just, because I value life so much now and I'm enjoying life and I have moments of just pure bliss where life is just so good. I can't even imagine that I hit this low of a point. But understandably so, I guess I had to. You almost kind of have to hit rock bottom before you can come back up again. But I was really depressed. I don't wish that on anyone. And as I've said previously, my heart goes out to the newly diagnosed. And I just want to just reach out and give everyone a big hug and just say, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Um, I got so low, I even contemplated, taking my own life, which is just, I can't even say it because it amazes me. But I felt like I was a burden to my friends and family and that they'd all be better off without me and that I would have to be taken care of for the rest of my life. And that was something that just was dreadful to me. I just couldn't imagine that. And I wanted to be free, actually, to be honest. I thought that that was my way out of this constant struggle. So, not it just seemed like not only was my body not cooperating, but my mind was kind of following suit. There was just, I wasn't thinking right. Um, and I'm not quite sure what snapped me out of it other than I felt just disgusted and sick of it and I was just tired of it. I was done. I was not going to live my life like that anymore and I had to do something because it just felt like I was ready to give up and if you knew me, you would know that that's just something that I can't do and won't accept. I desired to live and nothing, including MS, was going to get in the way of that. So I think then that is the acceptance point. I think we all have come to this crossroad where we have to make a decision. Do we, do we let MS run our lives? Do we let it dictate our lives? Do we let it hinder us? Or do we take that and say, no, this is unacceptable. I'm going to do everything in my power to fight it. I'm going to do everything in my power to make it better. And I think you come to this acceptance, you also come to this gratitude of, wow, my left side works now. I don't have optic neuritis where I have blurry vision, like I can see now. I can enjoy my family, enjoy my friends. I can enjoy my life. Um, Everyone, as I said, has struggles, and everyone's dealing with something. But I really think it's how we handle these struggles and how we approach them that really matters in the end. Life is such an incredible experience and blessing, and we have so much to give ourselves and to each other. So if you're newly diagnosed out there and you've made it all the way through this recording so far, I just have to tell you that life will go on and you will discover an inner strength that you never knew existed. And in some wacky, weird way, I can say that I am grateful for this entire process and experience. I wouldn't want to relive it, and I wouldn't want anyone else to go through it, although I know realistically it's going to happen. But I really do believe that it's made me a stronger person, and I value things more. I cherish life. I take advantage of things. I think that maybe I was not really conscious of being thankful for and grateful for, things that I may have taken for granted. And I really do kind of prefer the person that I am today than the person I was pre-MS. I know there's a lot of social media groups out there that kind of say, well, how can you be thankful for a chronic illness? And it's what you make of it, I think. I think if you let it strengthen you and let it empower you and get that amazing perspective, I think that you can handle anything life throws your way. Um, I value every single bit of life, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to be able to talk to you today. So, I'd like to kind of close off by saying you can find me on a new patient and caregiver resource site that is brought to you by the International Organization of MS Nurses called livewisems.org. And living wise means many different things to me, and we'll get into that in future broadcasts. But most importantly, it means, part of the empowering is to get the knowledge, and that is LiveWise MS goal to make provide the information to the person living with MS so they can live the best possible lives that they can. I mean, MS is definitely not the disease it used to be. And when I was diagnosed with it in 2003, there was only 4 medications on the market, and they were all injectable medications. And now there are, over a dozen medications on the market, ranging from the injectables to oral to IV. It's just it's an exciting time because I really believe that, we're just getting closer and closer to a cure. I really believe that, and I hold on to that hope because what else is there if you can't hold on to that? So there will be a cure in our lifetime. I'm going to say it. I'm a firm believer, and if you keep saying things long enough, you keep believing in them long enough, that it'll come true. So as I said, I am also, I have to say, the queen of the tangent, so I might be going off of script here, going off topic here, but again, you can find me on livewisems.org. I write their blog, but I'm also their social media person, so you can find us on Facebook at livewisems.org, also on Twitter Google Plus, let's see, also LinkedIn and Instagram. So you can find me on all of those sites as well if you want to contact me. You can also email me. I would love to hear from you at editor@livewisems.org. It has been a true pleasure, and it's also been rather nerve-wracking as this is my first attempt at this radio broadcast. I don't like the sound of my voice, and just getting used to this, and it's a little nerve-wracking. And so I have to say too, because I know one of the only people that has probably made it this far on the broadcast is my mother. So I'm going to say, hi, Mom. Thanks for listening and for being my biggest supporter. I love you very much, and I do appreciate your support. So I will end this broadcast a little probably early, but I will pick up in another time and talk to you all soon. I would love to hear from you, and as I said, a future topic will be how to live wise with MS, how to empower, how I empower myself, and maybe by my example, you can learn to empower yourselves as well. Thank you. Earlier in this broadcast of Living Wise with MS, I talked about how extremely depressed I got after I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And even at one point in my past, I considered taking my own life. Thankfully, I had family members who talked me through that extremely rough period in my life. I never want anyone to go through that pain or to ever feel alone. I know what a struggle living with MS can be, but I want you to know that you are never alone, and suicide is definitely not the answer or solution. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please reach out. You can call the toll-free National Suicide Prevention Lifeline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. And lastly, I encourage you to check out livewisems.org. This new patient and caregiver resource site is for people living with MS. LiveWise MS is not only sourced by trusted medical content, but it is reviewed and approved by the International Organization of MS Nurses. The IOMSN is a well-respected organization of healthcare professionals who focus solely on the care of those affected by multiple sclerosis. At LiveWise MS, we take information from medical journals and textbooks and provide you with patient summaries that tell you exactly the information you need to know and why you need to know it. At LiveWise MS, we aim to increase your knowledge about MS with information from reliable and trusted sources, to answer your questions about living with MS, and to contribute to your overall quality of life and well-being. And most importantly, we seek to empower you and your family and your caregivers to meet and overcome the challenges of multiple sclerosis. I firmly believe we can do this. Stay up to date by subscribing to our LiveWise MS monthly newsletter, or please check us out on social media via Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, please feel free to reach out to me by email at editor@livewisems.org. Until next time, stay well. Thank you.